Hello everyone, and welcome to our final presentation of our final project called Astar. So what is Astar? Astar is a VR experience in which we give you the power to create planets, to make your own planetary system. So like I said, it's a VR experience for one player, for everyone, that we consider to be a science fantasy game developed on HTC Vive. For the business model, we want to primarily go for VR arcades in general and B2C on the side. But the catch is we want to focus on VR arcades in China. Given all of this, we had to draw a context for production. So because of VR, we had to make sure to keep always at all time 180 FPS, 90 for each eye. So we went for low poly graphics, which was VR friendly. We had to make sure to use motion gaming wisely. And we wanted to have the user, to give the user many interactions, but we had to consider having few inputs because of VR controllers. The Chinese market, well, we were lucky enough for VR. There is no standards for Western or Eastern VR games yet. We knew we could use a larger game space. And VR arcades over there are priced by the session, the time you spend over there. So we knew we didn't really have any time limit besides the headset, wearing the headset for a long time. And social aspects in China are really strong, so we needed to keep that in mind. But for your first look at Astar, we want to show you how to get your first planet, and then how to customize it to make it your own, going through different workshops, and then contemplate your planet orbiting around the star. For today's presentation, we wanted to go live, but because of technical issues, like those cameras are infrared, they were having too much noise with the HTC Vive, so it was really difficult for us to have it smooth. So we recorded a little gameplay video for you.
Thank you. Now, let's talk about the full experience. We have one core type, which is the solid planet. Everything you see in blue are ideas we have, possibilities for additional content. We would like to develop 5 workshops. You've already seen 3 of them. We have the scale workshop that allow you to scale your planet, but also objects you can find in the room. The shape workshops let you shape your planet's relief by extruding tiles. The decoration workshops allows you to place items on your planet. Now the satellites workshop will let the player throw little satellites in orbit around his planet, like you throw your planet in orbit around the sun, the star. And finally, the rings workshop that lets you manually draw rings around your planet. Now, once your planet is in orbit around the star, you can go on it. You can visit it from the ground with the teleportation. And once you're there, you get a comet. It's a reward. The comet is an element that will bring some cool effects once you throw it in orbit around the star, once you're back in the room. We are talking about a creative experience. It was really important to us that players can save their creation and then share them with their friends, with the community, on the social networks. Today, we have 10 minutes of gameplay for newcomers, but with the full experience, we'd like you to stay 20 minutes in a star. Keep in mind this timing fits if you create one planet, but if you were to create several planets or just wander around, like in any other VR games, the experience would be much longer. And we can add in the experience specific assets depending on which arcade you are playing in or what event is currently happening. For example, today is the final presentation, so we added the windsurfer from Peak.
To make sure you would enjoy your time in a star, we focused on 3 major aspects of our experience. We wanted you to feel free to express your creativity, and we wanted this creation to happen in a calm and peaceful environment where you would want to take your time. Finally, we put emphasis on the visual aspect of this experience by allowing you to contemplate your creation from various points of view. To make this an enjoyable creative experience, we provide the user with multiple workshops that can be combined in various ways to create unique planets. But as you've seen in the demonstration, we also let you play freely with the object in the room. So if you want to throw any object you want into orbit, you can make some surprising system. What really builds the sense of affection towards what you're creating is the fact that you're always carrying these little planets in your hands and carving them with accurate manipulations. This adds a sense of handcraft, which is a really rewarding way to approach creation in VR. And while you are working, you are in this wonderful, calm room where we worked on soft lights, on a sound design with elements between magic and sci-fi to create a sense of calm and wonder. We also make sure that the speed of the objects orbiting around the star would create a slow rhythm during the experience. But a star is not only peaceful because of its atmosphere, but because we made sure to have easy and intuitive interactions that are mostly hand-based. For instance, the first mechanic you encounter, the constellation, is something we thought to be a really fluid and enjoyable motion for beginning the experience. Our system of bases allow us to have independent workshops so that we make sure that one interaction cannot be confused for another. That's how we worked with the constraint of having few different inputs available. And we are able to guide you effortlessly during your discovering of the room without any text by using visual clues, lights, effects on the bases, and to make it to allow you to discover the room at your own pace. And finally, you've seen that we highlight the importance of your creation by placing the star at the center of the room, always visible from any workshop. But we also made sure to provide you other angles from where you can admire what you're creating, such as one room which is above the other, or the ability to teleport on your planet and see the sun rising from the ground. And where with this sense of affection and admiration towards your planetary system, you will naturally come to want to keep it, save it, and share it with your friends. To sum up what you've just seen, why would you be interested in a star? Because it has an original theme of planet creation in VR. That is something that can spark the curiosity of a large audience. Because we have this system of independent workshops, which makes the room really modular, and it could be adapted to our clients' wishes. The peaceful atmosphere is something that makes the player want to stay longer in the room, so it's adapted to arcade with time-based pricing. And with intuitive interaction and visual clues, it is something that can be a very great first VR experience for new players. Finally, the ability to share our creation online is a way to keep the game visible outside of the arcade room.
Thank you. So yeah, making our start came with a lot of risk and challenges, technical ones. We've tackled all of them, all we wanted at least. Then we came with design challenges, VR of course, motion sickness, motion gaming. Well, according to our playtest, we're good. Environmental storytelling, well, I cannot say we're good. It needs fine-tuning and we would need full experience to make sure of that, so it's still up there. Social features, it was pretty easy, so we got that too. In terms of marketing, lots of competitors to come. We don't have any impact on that, so we need to keep an eye out. One user experience, that's more of an habit in China, so it's supposed to be good. Soft launch, well, we need to prepare that at the right time, but we cannot ignore that. And we're planning on doing it in Hong Kong, which is easier to get into than China, and it's still really close in terms of habits. The Chinese market, that's a prerequisite. We need a local partner, so we cannot bypass that. In terms of localization, like we said, we have no text, no voices, so we're supposed to be good as well. Government submission, it's not first parties, so it's still a little rough. And Chinese culture and censorship, even though our topic is not supposed to be touchy, we cannot just ignore that, so we still need to keep that in mind. Staffing and planning. Well, you've seen our vertical slice. We still need at least 1 more month to make sure everything is solid, and then we can go into full production at full time. We think we need 5 months, which takes us to €500,000, and also to August. This is when China Joy is happening. This is the biggest exhibition for new technology and VR in China, but in Asia as well. So we definitely would need to be there. And as of right now, the investment we need is 340,000 euros to complete the game as we wish. Like we said, the game is pretty easily extendable. Sorry. So we consider that with our velocity right now and the team at full time, we could produce 3 to 4 workshops in about 4 months. So we talked about VR, arcades, China a lot. Well, the main focus is B2B2C and licensing fee. So it's VR arcades in general, but the Chinese market was our our primary target. And then we contacted hardware providers and museums to sell them our experience. But on the side, since our experience we think is pretty universal, we think we could still reach consumers through Steam VR and have sales revenue around the world. We hope that we put stars in your eyes, and now let's wrap this up with images. Well, thank you for your attention.
Thank you. The first question, first comments. Okay.
Don't you think it's a problem to have some planets which are not really round? Which are not really sphere? In the imagination of most of the people, a planet is something which is like a ball.
Well, we're definitely not scientifically accurate, so I don't think that's really an issue.
My question was not about scientific.
Okay.
It's the imagination of people.
I'm not sure I got that. Sorry.
Je peux
Voilà.
reprendre en français, ce sera peut-être plus simple. Les planètes, elles sont toutes low poly dans leur forme. C'est-à-dire, elles ne sont pas rondes. Dans la vision de tous les films de science-fiction, tout ça, je ne sais pas si les planètes sont vraiment rondes, ou en tout cas, elles ne le sont pas, parce qu'elles sont plutôt ovoïdes que rondes. Mais enfin, dans l'imagination populaire, les planètes, les soleils et tout ça, c'est des machins vus de loin, ronds et bien lisses. Est-ce que ce n'est pas un problème, ou est-ce qu'il faut arriver à convaincre les gens que les planètes, c'est constitué d'un ensemble de facettes?
On pense que dans le cadre du jeu, où tout est low poly, disons que ça va avec la direction artistique, et ce serait même bizarre, on pense, d'avoir une planète parfaitement ronde, parfaitement réaliste, et que voilà, ça va bien dans le jeu de l'avoir avec des facettes. Et c'est aussi beaucoup plus pratique techniquement.
Another question, comment? Yeah.
Hey, Quentin again, in English this time, because I care. So you discussed about the Chinese market. It feels like you did like a great job of analyzing the opportunities, the kind of habits player can have with VR arcades and stuff. From more like play, like the uses of the games in Asia, generally they are more about multiplayer, about competition and so on. So how do you feel in terms of gachas, this kind of stuff? So how do you feel your game can stand where it's like a more immersive, experimental, without a challenge experience in this Chinese environment?
Well, like we said, there's no standards yet for VR games in Eastern or Western countries. Most of the games you find in VR over there are pretty much the same we have here. They've been focusing on hardware, and they're craving content. So we have a couple of numbers here, but they need content, and so they need content, and they're investing money into it. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm not speaking about the lack of opportunity for VR games, but for this precise kind of
yeah,
game
like I said,
experience.
there's no standards, and the VR games they're playing over there are the same we are playing here. So experiences like this have happened and worked here. So we think that could work over there as well.
Okay.
Hi, Laura Pledigius. I have a question concerning the also Chinese market. A lot of things, well, the entirety of your game depends on the approval of the government. What happens if you don't have it? Do you have a plan B? You talked about Steam VR. Is it your plan B? What happened?
Well, like we said, yeah, we made a major focus on China, but we are aiming at VR kits in general. And again, we think that this experience is pretty universal. So if China doesn't work, we think we can still fall back on our feet with VR kits around the world, hardware providers, museums, and maybe Steam. We've contacted the the Science City of Space in Toulouse, and they have this educational program, and they would like to have this kind of game. Even though it's not scientifically accurate, it could be a good introduction for our kids to science and space in general. So we think we can still manage without China.
Another question? A comment? A comment?
Bonjour. Okay, so I will go in English, but Camille, game designer at Ubisoft. I think I'm just going to talk for the people around me right now, but like it was great, and I think that's why we don't have anything more to say except picking on China and the market. So yeah, good job. It was really polished, and I would definitely play it.
Thank you. I invite you everyone to come upstairs and play it because VR is better. Experience yourself.
So if you don't have any further question or comment, we will keep some time for letting people coming and play all the demos, including yours. So thanks again for this team. Thank you, and let's welcome the second project of this afternoon, Our Land.
Merci, Kat.
Life is a gift from Mother Earth, a divine breath that you have to treasure before she takes you back within her. What you do with it is up to you, but beware. This land has its scars that must not be ignored. It is said that a long time ago, our ancestors used to live in titanic crystal monoliths from where they were contemplating life as if it was their own creation. They thought that the oceans, lands, mountains, and even peoples could be molded and shaped to satisfy their most burning desire: power. But their greed and unquenchable thirst for domination led to hatred, violence, and destruction. Our mother then unleashed her power, tearing the ground apart to bury weapons, spitting out fire to burn every ungrateful child, rising up water to drown greed, and summoning storms to sweep away the hatred. Then came darkness, a long and cold night where life was just a memory. Until she decided to give life another chance. A chance to live with her in harmony, to embrace and respect her. A chance to build a new home on this land. Our land.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this final presentation of Our Land. So let me introduce you to the game. It's a management game in which we wanted the player to feel aware of the environment. And we built the game around two pillars, which are sustainability of our tribe and balance with the environment. And by mixing the two, we created a nomadic tribe that uses nomadism as a way to allow their needed resources to renew and live in peace with the environment. So in our land, we'll have different scenarios with different premises that the player will be able to play.
But we'll talk about that later. For now, let's focus on the part we developed, which is the first part of the first scenario. So at the start, we live, the tribe we embody live in a gigantic ship that is able to fly in order to move and to get the population to different places. But for now, due to a storm, it's stuck in the desert. They drifted away. And we need to move back to the grasslands where every entity they need are. So to move, we need fuel, but we don't have any for the moment. Fortunately, trees can give us wood that can be used as fuel. So we are going to distribute our population points, which are an abstraction of our population around us. And we are validating every one of our action at the end of a turn. And so we get every resources and rewards when we validate the turn. By ending the turn, we also lost some food, because at every turn, regarding our population, we are losing a bit of food. And now we are going to move to the grasslands. And we're entering fly mode to move, and travel costs fuel. The further you go, the more expensive it gets. So at times it will be more valuable to do a travel in several turns. But for now, since it's a fairly short travel and we don't have a lot of turns to use, we're going to do it in just one turn. In a better place, and we can start collecting food for our people. And we have an optional quest, which is to do it without moving. So let's take a look at where we are. We are in what we call a balanced hub. So a hub is a zone in which several entities come together and stay together in a balanced way. Indeed, we can see mowings, which are the herbivores, and they have trees to eat. And we can also see Urtuk, which is their natural predator. And the Urtuk will eat the wings and help the trees grow faster. So fortunately for us, wings give us food, so we are staying there and distributing our population around. We can see that we earn 2 food per wings, and we are continuing doing so to finish the quest. And now we can see that we earn a little bit more, because in our land we have an entry cost, which means that in the first turn we harvest things, we get a few resources and then more as the turns go, which creates a tension between draining an entity and letting it live. See that our watchmen spotted people at the north, so we are going to rescue them. But we can see that the Urtuk we saw earlier is not going north because it doesn't have any wings south to eat. So we unbalanced the first hub, and the unbalancing is spreading because of our earlier mistakes, and we'll try to fix it as soon as possible. But first, let's do the first quest. Let's finish the quest. And rescue those people. We can see the Urtuk is starting to eat the wings of that hub also. And we can see there that the people we got were windmasters. Please keep that in mind. We'll go back to that in a few turns. Now we have a new population, which means our population increased, and we now have more needs. Now we lost 3 foods per turn, so we need to find more food while avoid to do the same mistakes as the one we did before. So first, let's correct our mistakes and prevent the Urtuk from doing more damages. let's think long term. So we have a new population, which means difficulty because we're going to consume more. But also we can switch our population point to the collectors to another specific house. So switching a point into the house, it won't be able to collect the entities around, but it will give us a specific bonuses. For example, the hunters are gonna give us a bonus when collecting animals. The scouts are gonna give us are gonna come back with unknown resources. The navigators reduce the cost of every travel. The lumberjacks help us while collecting wood, and the cooks reduce the consumption of food per turn. So since we need food for that quest, we are putting the points in hunters, which will give us a bonus in harvesting animals, collecting. And I'm letting you enjoy a little bit the music and ambience for this quest. Now we are going to find the fishermen that are across the desert near the lake. They are threatened by Urtuks, and we need to rescue them. And the optional quest asks us to do it in less than 30 wood. You can see that's a rather far journey, so we'll need to think through it. So if you remember well, I said earlier that we won the Wind Masters, and so this is a system of upgrades. Indeed, in every houses there is an upgrade that we can unlock either by putting a point in the house for several turns, or by collecting population, well, rescuing population that already has the knowledge, and this comes with unlocking already the upgrades. So we got the upgrades of the navigators, which is the Wind Masters that allow us to use the wind. But we can see that the wind is blocked by a tree and doesn't blow all the way to the lake. But we can cut it, and now we can use the wind. The wind allows us to travel for free in the desired direction. Now that we have the fishermen, we unlocked the ability of fishing, and the next quest is that winter is coming, so we need to prepare for it. We don't know exactly what winter does yet, but it seems to have something to do with food regarding the optional quests. So we are optimizing it by putting our population in the food houses, which are the hunters and the cooks, and use our newest acquired skill, fishing, to store food for winter. Now let's get back to slides to get a glimpse at what will be the whole game. So we teased about winter. Winter is an unexpected season. Here we announced it in the quest, but further winters will be unannounced, so the player will feel a tension that not knowing when winter will come. It's a short season, a few turns, but it's harsh on the player needs because it will have an effect on the food consumed and the fuel consumed by the movements. But we can protect ourselves against winter by upgrading the cooks, which will give us the wool, which protects against the cold and the harsh effects, and putting points in having the upgrades of scouts, which is with the weathermen that will announce when winter will come. So winter changes the appearances of biomes that are covered in snow, but it also changes the behaviors of entities. They do not reproduce in winters, and we have new entities that are faster predator. So having that makes us have diversity and events to present to the player to diversify their experience. We also have, on a more macro scale, the scenario. So the scenario is constituted of main goals that help the player master the main mechanics and the main systems of the game. It also have side goals to have more challenge for the willing players and to explore furthermore the gameplay. We want every scenario to last approximately 1 hour and a half on a larger zone than what we had presented before, what we just presented. And at the end, we get to an end where our people survive by surviving all the events in a scenario. For now, we have small tutorials about controls, and the first scenario that we presented, the first part of the first scenario, which is the vertical slice of the game. And we want to have 5 scenarios that all start from a different assumption, and an endless mode, which have all the zones and all entities of every scenario. So for example, if we take a scenario that we want to develop, which is Infernal Plains, it's fully in the desert, so trees do not reproduce there, they're only dead trees, but you can use a lot of wind. So it's a different kind of movement, and there are a lot of new entities that are in the Infernal Plains scenario. Also, every scenario has a specific tech tree, because, for example, in a fully desert map, you won't need the fishermen, so you will rather get the archers that can hunt the birds, such as the sorrow. And I will let William talk about business for a bit.
Thank you, Corinne. So now let's have a look on the business plan of Our Land. Firstly, Our Land is a strategy management game. So the logical target are the mid-core strategy gamer, and this type of gamer are on PC. So our primary platform is the PC. But Our Land has 2 big advantages. Firstly, it's a game easy to play and easy to start for non-familiar player to strategy games. And it has a unique concept. It's a strategy game where you look for balance, not expansion or accumulation. The player is part of the ecosystem, not an entity above everything, exploiting the people and the nature, and it's coherent with the current ecology concerns. All this will attract what we call the curious gamer, person curious about strategy games and curious about the concept of Our Land. A part of this player are on PC, but an important part are on console. And there is one particular console we want to target. It's the Nintendo Switch. Firstly, because it's fashionable and interesting hardware, but secondly, because Civilization 6 has been released earlier this year on this platform. And the CEO of Take-Two said it significantly exceeded expectations in terms of sales. That means there is a market for strategy games on Switch. For our pricing, we took some competitors, some strategy and management games, and we put in relation the average playtime and the retail price. For our land, we want an average playtime of 12 hours, like Frostpunk. But Frostpunk is at 30 euros, and we are not 11 Byte or Shiro Games. We don't have that fame and their experience. So a lower price seems better for our land. 20 euros seems the perfect price for the game. Our production planning, we had 4 months of pre-production, which is ending today with the presentation of the vertical slice, 8 months of production, and 2 months of post-production. We had 40 man-months for the pre-production. We will have 96 man-months for the production and 20 man-months for the post-production. Including the Switch porting cost, we will have a cost development at 570,000 euros. That means a break-even at 28,000 units. So with this break-even, we can have the sale forecast. We took the high and bottom bracket of our competitors on Steam Spy. The high bracket for Civilization 6 is 5 million units. It's totally out of our league, so let's forget about it. But the bottom bracket of Bard North is 20,000 units. Our break-even is just above it, and we want our land to be a bigger game. So that's why we expect on PC sales to from 30 to 40,000 units. But these numbers are only for the PC, and we want to release the game on Switch, so we can add 20 to 30,000 units expected for Nintendo Switch. That means an expected profit after distribution of 350,000 euros. That's a lot of numbers. So let's sum things up. Our Land is a unique management game on PC and Switch at a retail price of 20 euros, and there is a possibility of DLC. We will have 5 scenarios and a list mode, for an average playtime of 12 hours. All we need is 330,000 euros from publisher to make this game possible. Before ending the presentation, I would like to give a special thanks to Clarissa, Judith, and Jeremy for their help on the project. I would like to ask the team to come near us for the question session, thank them, and tell you thank you for your attention.
Thank you. First, questions or comments? Yeah.
Congratulations first, and you talk about equilibrium between nature and humanity a lot during your presentation, and at the moment I have the feeling that the player just have to take resources, but he or she doesn't need to make a choice of letting resources or how to say that, planting some trees or making animals being more numerous and that kind of thing. Did you think about that? We actually thought about that kind of thing, like planting trees and making the environment more luxuriant. But that actually comes with the upgrades I talked earlier. And also we want to have a specific scenario in which the world is very unbalanced, and we have to act in it to make it more balanced. But it would be the hardest scenario, and we really wanted for this one to present the mechanics and present how the game will be.
Thank you.
Did you thought to have a multiplayer mode?
We thought that at the beginning of the project, but firstly we could with more time and all, but we're not sure the core loop of the game is good for the multiplayer, so we should rework the game to make it available for multiplayer.
What we really wanted to emphasize on in the game was the relationship between humans and their environments. So having turns where the environments play against the player is what we really wanted to have before having multiple players.
Yes, I understand what you are saying. You don't want to make a competitive mode like in most strategy multiplayer game, but you could think to make a cooperative mode on online with a more difficult balancing system where some of the players are managing some of the resource and the other some other resources.
Yes, we could think about that, but we didn't thought about it that way, so we'll consider it, maybe.
Hi, so Thibaut from Ubisoft. I really liked your game. At first, I was not really hyped, to be honest, but after seeing it, I find it really beautiful. And the blend of 2D and 3D is really great, really nicely integrated. So, congratulations. And the gameplay seems really cool. I'm not fond of strategy anymore, but yeah, it really makes me want to play this game. And maybe adding something like a free mode or survival where you don't have micro quests, but maybe a bigger goal like surviving as long as possible without unbalancing the world would be great, I think. So maybe an idea to explore.
Yes, that's what we want to do in the endless mode, like really maybe score the turns the players were able to do and how much they took resources, how they imbalanced, and to have a possibility to play endless and in a more survival way.
Okay, Fred, Ubisoft Paris too. I love the game, I love the proposal, it's just that it's a strategy game, sorry. There's a lot of balancing to do, especially in this one when you have no opponent that have the same kind of rules than you. So just don't underestimate the time of balancing and playtesting. And do you have some kind of plan for playtesting or some kind of money plan assessed to that, for example?
Well, thank you for the advice. That's a bit planned in the production plan, but yes, maybe it's not enough for playtesting. Thank you.
Laura, Pledijus. You talked about Bad North as a Switch port. Have you thought about mobile? Because it is in click and the controls seems to be really appropriate. The interface seems to be adaptable. So have you thought about it?
Yes, of course, we thought about it, but there is some reason we didn't think the Hourland in its state can be released on Switch, mobile, sorry. Firstly, the economic model is now possible for mobile. A premium game of 20 euros is a bit too much for mobile, and there is that's the first reason, and we have to rework really the game to make it on mobile. But it's possible. to make it differently for mobile, I think.
Yeah, because since you're porting it on Switch, you'll have to see the interface and the controls and everything. So maybe you can, when I think about Bad North is a Switch game, a PC game, and a mobile game. And on Switch, what's interesting is that it has the pad controls and the tactile controls. Maybe you can do something similar.
Yeah, we will think about it for the future. Thank you very much.
We have time for other questions or comments.
Just have a question about how you generate your levels. Is that procedurally generated or just a fixed level?
It is a fixed level, the one we showed.
It's totally possible, but for the need of a scenario-based mission, we could not do a procedural world, but it's totally possible for an endless mode, for example.
Still have like issues like, for instance, out there or gameplay issues you see so many details.
Yes, we can think about it in the future. It's a yes. Yes. Thanks.
Also, as someone said before, the balancing is very hard in the game, so it's kind of hard to have procedurally generated. The map is not complicated, but having the entity right placed on the rightly located on the map is complicated, and yes.
Yes, so just that when we developed the game, for the sound, for example, we thought really about it. So the system that is in the game right now, for example, for the sound is working perfectly for procedural map. So that's something that we thought about a lot with the programmers at first, that make a system that could be procedural, but for the vertical slice it is not for now.
Some more comments? Question? No? Okay, so thank you again to the team. Congrats. And let's welcome the last project, Attuned. Let's welcome them.
Good evening. We are the team behind Attuned, the game where in a dead world you inspire movement. The game is about Oya. She is a 4-second priest, and her power are depending on the type of terrain beneath her feet. But let's see the game in action.
Okay, so what you've seen is our current state of the game, but there's so much more to come. As actually, at the end of the demo, you arrived in facing the All Mother's floodplain, which are dried, and before you lies the Divine Bridge, that is the only source of water available in this land, and your destination, but it is only the first steps of your journey. So, our world of Attuned is based upon a single rule, magical rule, that is the attunement. And the attunement is at the base and the core of our world building and our gameplay, because it is the ability for you to harmonize your inner frequencies to the frequencies of the element you can touch. So as long as you're in contact with something, you embody the quality of this element, and it gives you special power. In the game, you are an attuner. You are Oya. She was a Forsaken priest, but now she wanders in the endlessly pink desert with one single objective in mind. A single hope of escapism and enlightenment, really. Something that is impossible to do in our world, the attunement with the wind. So this is something that has never done before, and she has this objective in mind, but she has, as she explores the ruins of the twisted civilization she comes from, she is aided and guided by this mysterious ghostly presence that lead her to reach the aqueduct. And at the end, at some point, she understands that her true place and purpose is to fix and repair the divine aqueduct and heal the land and re-inspire movement in the dead world by fixing the only source of water known in the world. So this can be seen in our core mechanic, the terrain mechanic, because we really wanted to focus on the connection between the character and the land. So we want to create a strong connection of codependency, intimacy, and tension between the two. Here you saw our dry terrain, rock terrain, sand terrain, and water. Each one give Oya new abilities, but actually we designed 4 more terrains in the total experience. So in the entire game, we would also have embers, giving her quick boosts that she can boost her other abilities but quickly burning herself if she stays for too long upon it. She will have smoke, she can vaporize her body, allowing her to cross grids and holes. Aether, which is a deadly surface, she must avoid this at all costs because it petrifies her body on the long term. And metal, allowing her to walk and even run upon walls and ceiling. So one single button triggers different actions depending on the terrain you are, but all of our other interactions are actually movement-based. So to trigger or activate something, you either go near, cross, or stand still upon it. And this was really a design decision made with a subtractive design philosophy to put the emphasis of being a continuous flow and being pure movement in this land, as well as a way to remain accessible for our public.
Thanks. So now let's talk about the aesthetics of the game. As you know, now that we explained to you all this, we have a lot of things to put in the game, be it spiritual influences or all the gameplay ambitions. So we had to base our graphic work on pillars. The first one is gigantism. Oya is trying to reach the unreachable, so we wanted to give that sense of larger-than-life epic quest to what you play. So she is very small in a titanic world. Another pillar is movement versus stillness. We are a very mobile character in a dead world, so it reflects that idea of flow in the gameplay. And also mysticism is a key element of our world and lore. Since you cross these mausoleums where dead people were trying to reach the immortality that is not reachable in this lore and universe. Also, Attuned is all about contrast. So we have 2 main moods. The first one is hazy, warm.
It's the mood that you will encounter on the exterior areas, like the desert. It's a cameo of pink and red, and it's also burst with sound of nature. So you will hear the footsteps of Oya and the wind, but not that much music. On the contrary, there is another mood, which is the sheer eerie mood, which is in the interiors areas, such as the mausoleums. And everything is more creepy, whispers are flying in the air, the music is oppressing, and also the lighting is not diffuse and warm like in the first mood, but sheer and gloomy. Our character is very mobile, she's very agile, so on top of the regular animation, we did put a lot of cloth on her equipment, so she can be really that incarnation of movement. And also, as you can see in the animation, she's brave. She looks around, she is focused on her quest and not on fear or what could happen in this dry desert. And the last word about architecture, we said that we wanted the character to be very little in a gigantic world, and this is what we are trying to do with very vertical shapes, angular shapes, and that sense of scale and time that pass, entropy. But we also have some gameplay elements to put in game. So we did make these arches to be recognizable and readable. So we have this big dream of this big, expensive game, excuse me. So we had to build solid workflows. So what we did is starting by creating our terrains, and we realized that we needed 1 month to create a terrain from start to finish with all the actual polish that we have. So for the next pre-production that is coming, for the 4 new terrains, we will need 4 months and 15 persons to up the level of quality. Our tools. So we have a lot of tools. The first one that we built were precise metrics. So what you see are action blocks that are ready to be implemented in any situation, and we can make more. So that was our first milestone. So here you can see gray block and finished phase of the cistern. Next, the graphic tools. Early on in the development, we did create a general master material that helped us cover 80% of the assets in game. So it helped us change color, specularity, material IDs and stuff like that. So it helped us be real quick to create zones and variations. And also what you see on the side is procedural workflows that we created with Substance Designer to help us texture the levels in a blazing fast time. And last but not least, our gameplay tool, gameplay tweaking tool that was done to change every metrics of the terrains in runtime in the engine. So it helped us go real fast on iterating for the character metrics. So about the sizing of the game, you just seen a little glimpse of a demo, and everything is very quick. The levels will be more slow-paced. We estimate that we can do a level in 1 month, and we want to make all sorts of levels to make ruined cities, temples, and even the aqueducts. The production should take 8 months and should cost, oh, it's not there, sorry. And the post-production, since we are really relying a lot on polish, will take 2 months. So yes, the sizing. As I was about to say, here is what it should cost us. Yes, that's it. Now let's talk about money with Yanis.
Yes, money. Okay, so we define ourselves as an action-adventure game playing on PC and consoles with a life length of 6 to 8 hours. Our business model is a premium. We are targeting, our experience is a solo player experience, and we are targeting 3 main types of players: the thrill seekers, the exploration and narrative enthusiasts, and the fan of element-driven fictions like Avatar: The Last Airbender, The Legend of Korra, or even The Dragon Prince. And on the left are our competitors. not necessarily in terms of gameplay, but more in terms of scope. So we have Valet by Blue Eye Studio, Absolver by Slowclap, Abzu by Giant Squid, and A Story About My Uncle by Gone North. So they help us with their statistics of prices and sale to establish our own, because with our cost of production, we based our price at 19.99 €, and our break-even point would be at 295,000. Even if, based on our competitors, we estimate our total sales at approximately 500,000. So right now, what we are looking for is a publisher with a game that big, but we also are looking for additional funds because we have not finished our pre-production. We still have more terrains to do. So we are aiming at structures like the Unreal Dev Grant, the European Media Plan, and also the CNC, so we could have more weight and additional content to show to our potential publishers. And if you're still not convinced, please enjoy a glimpse of the universe we built. Thank you very much for your attention. The rest of the team already joined me on stage. Special thanks to Roman Garcia for the UI design and for Rob Davis for level design insights.
I would like to add something, and I want first to ask you to make another round of applause for them because we had a technical problem you should have noticed. We will try to reboot the machine so you can see at least a trailer or a bit of the game with a good quality.
Okay, just to add that we had singers and a person that played music, and thanks to them too.
So as I said, the quality you've seen is not the quality of what they've made, so please have that in mind. So we're going to start the questions, we're going to reboot, and we will try again just to give a chance to them to show what they've done. Et Stéphane va commencer.
Thanks for your presentation. Thanks for your presentation. Do you allow your heroine to smile sometimes? And more generally, in your production process, have you considered to making some different thing about animation, about facial animation, body animation, and things like that.
Yes, we thought about it, and this is why we are in our first part of the pre-production. We decided to push the level of quality the highest as we could, but we know that we still have a little bit more to gain the real level of quality that we want. But we are just launching the next pre-production. So yes, we thought about it. Yes.
In your budget, you have count many months and movement capture studio to.
That's exactly what we planned.
Other question? Yeah.
Congrats. First of all, it's great to see a very level design centric game. So now you have a lot of features that can result in a lot of level design. But I can't help to feel that the terrain was sometimes unnatural. You spoke a lot about architecture, and you have a lot of runes. Architecture and runes are still architecture. You could have a different terrain treatment. Right here, we had the impression that each terrain was simply drawn and painted and brushed on the floor. Have you think about adding more architectural elements? Was it a loss of time, or was it just? Just anyway, the level design was great anyway. Just it felt unnatural at some points.
We decided for the rumens to be completely devoid of life, so that is why they don't give you special powers, but the stone of the bridge itself would be a terrain, or actually some of our design process went into that direction. So the thing is, we can't make as many terrain as we want to, like have 20s or so, because it would be too much. And for this presentation, we really wanted to focus on few terrains with exciting combinatory situations, and maybe it hits a little bit the coherence of the whole, but that it's something that will definitely put more time and thought in the general making of the game.
Okay, just saying that because you have a lot of level design possibilities, and with the bricks we saw all together, there were a lot of possibilities to create logical environments and architectures, and I felt that at some point of the gameplay presentation, but not everywhere, especially in the first zone when you have really this painted zone on the floor. It was a bit breaking the immersion and the realism you want to have in the game. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you.
First of all, again, all the projects today have come so far in such a short time, and you guys are included in that. You've done a great job of moving forward from where you were at. Because last time we saw it, it was all geometric cubes, like a Lego block world. So this is fantastic progress in a short time. I was unclear how I, as a player, would know where I was to go. I understand exploration is part of it, but in a dead world, there's nobody to guide me. In a dead world, there's no companion that I can use to help pull me through the experience. What do you hope to use to let the players know where they're supposed to generally move toward?
There is a ghostly blue guy in the presentation, and this question has been asked to us before. We did not have the time in this part of the pre-production to implement it, but it would guide us. It would guide us towards the bridge and through the levels.
But it's a dead world. Who's the blue guy?
He's a dead guy in a dead world. But yes, it's in fact we did not expand on it, but he's a legendary attuner that achieved the feat of attuning with the wind, and she is following his tracks.
Moreover, we would have more landmarks to help us know where we have to go. The bridge is one, but we can have, for example, in the city, we can have tall buildings to really, in a kind of organic way, guide the player. But because our game is so level design centered, it's something that I think would come in the entire game, specifically on each situations.
Okay. The idea of having this guide who is dead, fantastic. But you can put a lot of character into that, so that there's a way to help make this feel, even though it's a dead world, which could be boring, it also could add a lot of life. The dead guy could add a lot of life to your game.
I don't know if you have them in visual. Maybe we can try again. No? Not sure? No? Okay. Okay. Sorry. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Please go visit them there at the first floor.
There's a big attuned
Yeah.
thing on the
You
on the
have
board.
to see it
Come and see
before
us.
leaving. But still time for questions and comments.
The music. Whose is that? Yeah, awesome, awesome, agreed.
Thank
yeah.
you.
So I have a question for you, which is tell us about your process. How did you get to there?
Okay, so we got a very fantastic singer and musician, and we composed the track and record this fantastic musician. Then.
How did you direct them? How did you say this is what we want?
The intention for the voices was to get something very spiritual and close to sutra, Zen sutra, Tibetan sutra, and so I think we keep this idea and try to be close to that.
Other questions, comments? No? You want to try the game? Okay. So thanks again and sorry for...
Thank you.
But before... So this was the last project of today. Before maybe all the students can come back can come down. Sorry, please. Sorry, I wasn't quick enough. Maybe just go down, and I will give the mic to David for a final word. Ah, je sais pas si c'est une bonne idée, mais je sais pas si c'est une bonne idée. On voit tous. And for the audience, I would like to give a big round of applause to all these teams who did a real great job for 4 months and today. So David Bowman was the godfather of this cohort. So he will have the last word.
Thank you to everyone who's come and helped us today. It's been fantastic. Make sure you get your feedback in because they really will read it. They care about it, so it's important for it. Thank you to the students. You've done an amazing job this year. This has been a very, very exciting year. High quality teams, all of them. Good teams. You came together when you were going through stress, right? Some teams blow up. We've been there. I think anybody in the industry, you've seen teams that fragment. Things get stressful instead of having a cohesive experience. Even if it starts well, it can fragment and it loses its way. All of these teams struggled at some point during this process. And what I saw was hard decisions getting made, egos being calmed, lowering their egos, which was really nice. So I look forward to working in an industry where there's this type of teamwork. So this is important. Thank you.
Thank you, David. I think, well, I don't want to talk from them, but I think you were a great godfather for them. Thank you all for your attention today. Thank you for... Oh. My pleasure. Thank you. Yes, we want to thank also Javier and Anthony, who were there and did their best, even for the last presentation. Thank you. Thank you, and so don't leave before going upstairs. See them if you didn't during the day, and to enjoy the last 3 projects you've seen today. Okay, so thank you very much for your attention. And okay, just excuse me, just 1 minute. So you've seen that they are able to do great things. Some of them still have are looking for internship. If you're looking for people, let us know. And you can also feel free to go see them. And we all wish you the best for the future. It was a great honor to have you.